Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Corporate Association of South Africa's Employment webinar. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Dineshi Naidu, and I am the Recruitment Officer. So I'm going to start with our introduction that's going to be done from our General Manager, Mr. Richard Barron.
Thanks, Dineshri. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen quickly and then we can start. Yeah, I was just going to just start with some food for thought. And seeing that it is Thursday, Thoughtful Thursdays. Uh, early this morning, Sandile actually shared a WhatsApp with us, and it gave me some reflection to do in terms of where I am today. I am a person with a disability, a quadriplegic for the last 23 years of my life. And oftentimes I do get asked, how do I stay so positive given my circumstances, given that I'm in a wheelchair, given that I'm a quadriplegic? And I think the question I can often ask back is, how can some people be so negative that's not in a wheelchair? And that debate can probably go on and on and on. At the end of the day, for me, it is about making the most of what you have and making the most of and being appreciative and grateful for where you are and what you can do. And having said that, the Quad Para Association of South Africa, QASA, as we know it, uh, has a vision, and that vision is to realize the potential of its members. Members being quadriplegics and paraplegics. For those who don't know what a quad or and a paraplegic is, a quadriplegic is a person that is impacted in all four limbs. Paraplegic is someone who's impacted in the lower limbs. Most of the times, yeah, say 99% of the times, it is a person that uses a wheelchair. And our vision is basically to realize the potential of quadriplegics and paraplegics, and for them to fulfill their potential. And we have a lot of different approaches, projects, and services to make that happen. And our mission is basically to secure resources and to advocate, educate, and capacitate our constituents. So I am a product of the organization. I've come through all the different products and services that were available. And today I'm one of I don't want to boast or anything, but I'm one of the success stories in terms of what the association was able to offer. There were a lot of other factors involved in terms of family and friends and other networking opportunities. But I think core to my success in life is having been able to be part of an organization that really cares for its members. I just want to play a quick clip, give you a quick glimpse of my life. I had the opportunity to present a similar presentation to the South African Spinal Cord Association, the conference, and I themed it then from SASA to success. And there was a lot of other people involved in that story, but I'm going to share with you in terms of how the story progressed. So I'm just going to play a quick video of where I am at today.
Hi, my name is Richard, and I've been living with a physical disability for 23 years. It was tragedy that struck me, leaving me paralyzed from the chest down after a diving accident. It felt like the end of the world, but I knew I couldn't give up, no matter how hard it seemed. My family was my rock and my strength. I lost most of my friends, but the ones who stayed by my side are my family, and I'd fight for them. Finding love and hope for the future was my driving force. Then I discovered QAWC, a leading disability organization for people like myself. They offered resources that helped me connect with other people facing similar challenges, and I felt like it was my chance to make the best of my world. The organization assisted me to thrive. They supported me as I studied for my degree and provided me with assistive devices I needed to overcome my limitations. QAWC helped me to realize my full potential. Through sheer willpower, I conquered my fears and limitations. Now I live a full and active life. I'm not just a person with a disability. I create, I contribute, I strive to improve the lives of others. I'm paving the way for the next generation. Find inspiration and live life to the fullest. No matter what challenges we may face, we can all live and love beyond disability. I want you to know that it's possible to live and love beyond disability. I hope my story inspires you and raises awareness of inclusivity, love, and acceptance for people with disabilities.
So that's just a quick glimpse of my life and from where I come. And I'm very passionate for the cause for which Kwaza stands. And I want to see more of those stories. And there's a lot of other stories I can really share. But the one quote that resonates with me in terms of my life and where I am today and from where I come is a quote by Melody Beattie, where she says, "Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow." I'm definitely very grateful for where I come from and what I've achieved thus far. And I'm grateful for the fact that I could spend 18 years of my life as a disabled person in corporate where I was, just as the next person. I did my fair share of work. I spent 18 years and the opportunity became available at Kwaza where I'm now the general manager of Kwaza. So I'm really grateful for all the opportunities that came my way, for networking opportunities, for people that just stood by my side. And I think that the middle part of the quote that talks about brings peace for today. Just having that peace, knowing that I've achieved a lot, and now I'm at peace, and I can do everything for myself. I'm independent. I have my privacy. I have a full life, and that having reflected on all of that, it creates for me a vision in the sense that I need to pay it forward. I need to give back to for knowing where I come from and how people can become a better versions of themselves. And that is where I throw my weight in terms of Kwaza's vision, creating that vision together with other like-minded individuals. Um, and I'm often inspired by members of ours, friends of mine that came before me, that came after me. And I just want to quickly introduce some of the friends that became family, so to speak, also, and how they've inspired me and how they are the success stories that inspire me to create more of those types of individuals through the organization. So you you will see here from left to right. I'll talk about some of the guys that's been part of my journey. From the left hand side, there's Ricardo Lodewijk, who I know since I'm in a wheelchair, and he's one of those that's really wise in terms of support and leading, giving a helping hand. Very independent, doing his own thing. Never feel sorry for himself. A leading peer supporter in his community. Anders has also got a beautiful story from the incident that left him paralyzed, being shot. He didn't sit still. He didn't sit on a heap and then think his life was over. He now is very successful. He's a champion ballroom dancer. He's have his own workshops where he does shoe shine for a business and work with shoes. He's very passionate about shoes. He wears all sorts of beautiful shoes, even though he only has one foot to wear it for. Another great friend of mine, Faisal, in the middle there, that's waving the flag. He's always ready to wave someone else's flag and ready to support, ready to give a helping hand. I often joke with him that whenever I call or whenever someone calls, he never answers the phone, how are you? But you often ask, what can I do for you? Ready to help, even though he has his own shortcomings in terms of his abilities, but he's always ready and he's with an independent mindset. I've always been inspired of what he has achieved, and that spurred me on to become a greater version of myself. At the bottom here is Unati, another great friend of mine, also back against all of these accident. Didn't have a lot of opportunities, but he made the most of everything that came his way. Today he's got his own family, beautiful daughter, wife, works. They just live a full life, and a family man that really lives an active life. Another friend of mine, Akona. Also, when I met Akona, he was timid, shy, didn't really speak a lot. And as our friendship grew, he came, to his own. And today he's also a family man, two kids, married, lives on his own, independent, very active, works also in the financial services sector. So if I look at these guys, if I meet them often and we talk, I feel so inspired to know that we've made successes of our lives, irrespective or whatever happened to ourselves. We didn't look back. We didn't sit um, on the stoop and felt pity for ourselves, but because of opportunities that came our way, with the likes of Kwaza that came our way, and like-minded individuals having the right company with us, it inspired us, and that is the vision that we want to drive as Quasar is to give other people the same opportunities to become better versions and independent people that can become productive members. And having reflected a lot on our journeys and where we want to see ourselves in the future and where we want to take others with us in the future, there is a hierarchy of needs that we designed in terms of where do we see ourselves as an organization to support our members to become better versions of themselves. And I think key to it and fundamental in reaching that success is our organization's ability to advocate and lobby for our members and to educate our members in terms of their rights, in terms of being being an independent person, having that independent mindset, supporting our guys whenever they feel they need the relevant support. There's all sorts of support that we want to offer them as a basic need to support them. Um, with a disability comes the need for assistive devices. As an organization, we want to fulfill that need, be it a wheelchair, be it something that you need to really make light of your day-to-day needs. So we have an assistive devices fund that helps, and we just want to mobilize you. So once we've advocated for you, we've made you part of the society and integrate and include you as part of the conversations around the table. We want to mobilize you, and part of mobilization is the third level of our needs in terms of needing to capacitate our guys, and that is why we here today as part of the conversation is to create that capacity in our members. We have a lot of projects. DA stands for Driving Ambitions Project, where we make the opportunity available for you to learn to drive. The WRP, the Work Readiness Program, where we offer you the opportunity to go on a 2-month journey with us to really embed in you the principles of being a productive member of society, being work ready, and then the education fund to just pursue those passions and skills further to fulfill a career one day. And I think ultimately what we want to achieve is making you economically active, being part of the normal way of life, not just sitting in a corner and thinking I need to put my hand out and someone needs to help me, but being economically active. And hence our recruitment strategy, we have a full-time recruiter being Taneshri, and we engaging employers, we engaging stakeholders to support us in this quest where we've advocated, we've lobbied, we've educated, we've provided assistive devices and mobilizing our people. But ultimately, we want to make them economically active. And once that has happened, and once they set themselves in motion, ultimately what we want to do is create leadership for tomorrow. We want to create the next Akona. We want to create the next Anda, Ricardo, Faisal, because we're not going to be around forever. So succession is very important. And ultimately, that is the aim we want, is to realize future potential and not just the potential for today. Um, and looking always at projects and services that we can render with our partners in making that a reality. And I think just lastly, in terms of what underpins our effort is definitely staying true to our vision, never letting other mission creeps come in where we forget what we want to do in terms of realizing potential, continuously improving. The world changes a lot. Technology takes over. We need to continuously improve, find ways of becoming efficient and effective and delivering top-notch services to our members. We in the disability sector as a non-profit organization and a public benefit organization. So governance is key. Good governance speaks to credibility. It speaks to that we know what we're doing, and that goes hand in hand with our financial prudence, being able to work with our finances, knowing that it is a non-profit organization. We there for our members. It's a member needs, and driven by our members, and being financially sound, always chasing that unqualified audit and being very matured with our finances, and so far so good. And that also speaks to our credibility at the end of the day. And key to a lot of what we want to achieve is our partners, being not just a person, entity that takes on and saying, yes, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir, but asking, what value can we as an organization add to your business, to your entity, really looking at partnerships and growing that, because ultimately, once our people become economically active, they are the people that's going to be out there making use of services that the entities bring to our table. So this is in short what we as Quasar stands for as an introduction. And I'm really grateful for the presence here today. All sorts of different entities, all sorts of different sectors wanting to become involved and hearing what we have to say. So thank you from my side. And I'm sure we will definitely be in touch as we grow into this vision. Thanks so much, Desiree.
Thank you, Richard, for that introduction. Without any further delay, I'm going to hand it over to Alisa Bradshaw, who's the managing member of Bradshaw LaRue Consulting. So our next speaker is Mr. Anthony Galino. He is the general manager of QAWC, and he will be discussing disability awareness.
Thanks, Dineshri. Thanks very much for the opportunity to address the group today. It's very exciting to speak about something which is a passion of mine, which is disability awareness. And Mariska is going to be driving the slides, our tech support. So Mariska, thanks very much. So yeah, we can, I think that this follows on very nicely from what Lisa's been talking about, and there will be some crossover as well. Some points that she made I'm also going to make, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to keep them to the end. In 20 minutes I can't make you an expert on disability, but I can certainly build that confidence that Lisa was speaking about, because we do find that when it comes to disability, a little bit of confidence goes a long way. You don't know what you don't know, and we find that people just with a little bit of insights, a little bit of understanding, they change their behavior towards people with disabilities. So we're going to go to the first slide, or the next slide, which is me. Hair was a lot less gray then, but just to share with you who I am, a lot like Richard, who we heard from earlier, I am also a product of the organization. And it's really awesome to be able to stand up and speak about one's journey within an organization that I now work for. The picture may not show it. I am quadriplegic. I'm paralyzed from my shoulders down. So I drive my wheelchair using my chin. This control in front of me, you can see it in front of my chin in that picture. That's the joystick, and that's how I have my mobility. It's thanks to a motorized wheelchair. I haven't always been a wheelchair user. I broke my neck at the age of 16 in a motor vehicle accident. I was in the back of a bakkie which rolled after going out with some friends on a Sunday afternoon in a nature reserve. Yeah, so that was 31 years ago. So I have 31 years worth of experiences, stories to share. It is a journey, and one which you certainly can enjoy as long as you have the right attitude and a lot of support along the way. And I think that's where organizations like Quasar come in and really can and have shaped the lives of people like myself and like Richard. I am the general manager of the Quad Para Association Western Cape. It is fascinating sometimes to see people's reactions when they see me. This guy in a wheelchair, can't move even a finger, can't lift up my arm, driving the wheelchair with a chin. And people often ask me, oh, so how do you keep yourself busy? And their reaction when I tell them that, well, actually I work full day every day, it's astounding. People just don't, the majority of people don't seem to comprehend that a person with a disability, even a severe mobility impairment, is still able to work and be very productive. In fact, I get a great kick out of telling people that I'm the fastest typist in the room, because I use voice activated software to type, and I can assure you that 100, 120 words per minute is what I'm capable of, which is faster than most people who use their hands. So that's a little bit about me. We can move on to the next slide, please, which is really just about what is disability. There's so many misconceptions about what constitutes a disability. And Lisa did touch on this and actually quoted the majority of what the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities says a disability is. And so it's defined as disability being imposed by society. Sorry, let me start again. Disability is imposed by society when a person with a physical, psychosocial, intellectual, neurological, and or sensory impairment is denied full access to participation in all aspects of life, and when society fails to uphold the rights and specific needs of individuals with impairments. Now that's quite a mouthful, and it's quite a lot to unpack. So I'm in Cape Town. I'm a proud Cape Townian, and the example I like to use is of our lovely mountain in Cape Town, Table Mountain. It's a mountain. There's a cableway that goes up to the top of it. And in reality, I think that it would be, I don't think I have every expectation to be able to go up Table Mountain and cruise around on top. It's the top of a mountain. It's not, by definition, it's not a very accessible place. However, the powers that be have realized that actually people who use mobility aids may also want to travel, may also want to be mobile, and also want to enjoy the sights. And we're a large part of the population. So they have made 3 kilometers worth of paths on top of Table Mountain accessible, where I'm able to go using my wheelchair and cruise around on the top of the mountain. It's a mountain. It's probably not where I would expect to be able to spend a day using a wheelchair, but they've considered me. They have made allowances for my special needs and for my requirements. I've been accommodated. When I'm on top of Table Mountain, in all honesty, I can participate with everyone else. I'm part of the community, part of society. So my needs have been accommodated. I'm not excluded. I don't have the barrier that I do when I then go down into Cape Town. After spending a bit of time up on the mountain, go down to Cape Town to have a beer with my friends, do you think I can find an accessible parking bay in Cape Town? And if I can, the chances are that the curbs haven't been dropped. So I get out of my vehicle, I'm in the road, I now need to get up onto the pavement. It's almost impossible 9 times out of 10. So you drive in the middle of the road, putting your life in danger, hoping to somewhere find a curb that has been dropped. There I am disabled. On top of a mountain, my needs have been accommodated. I don't have a disability. I'm able to participate. When I'm down in the streets of Cape Town, I can't get up onto the pavement. I can't be with my friends. I'm not included. There I feel every minute of my disability. So that's the definition of disability in the white paper on the rights of people with disabilities. It goes on to say, if we can go to the next slide, please, goes on to say that the 3 main types of interrelated barriers experienced are social. So it means that it's often a high cost, lack of disability awareness, and communication difficulties. So yes, it is one of the massive barriers that's in place when it comes to people with disabilities being a part of the community. I have to have a carer with me pretty much all the time. So if I go for a meal, it costs double. If I fly somewhere, it costs double. Transportation costs double. People just have no idea of disability. So there's a real lack of awareness, and it's a massive barrier. Of course, there are many people with impairments who aren't able to communicate easily, and that in itself is a massive barrier which has to be overcome. There's also the psychological barrier, which we experience on a daily basis. It affects your ability to travel around independently, not just because of the structure, which we'll get to in a bit, but because you are a soft target. If you have a disability, I'm not able to defend myself, can't always see what's around me. Of course, if you have a different impairment, you're not able to hear, you have other safety concerns. So that's another barrier that really does affect people with impairments. And then the last one is the structural or the built environment. And that's really frustrating because that is something which could be quite easily overcome with planning and development. So it could be anything from transport to getting in and out of buildings. And of course, in the workplace, there are also many barriers there. And I think the two pictures on the slide sum up perfectly what we want. So the bottom left, we need people to look at disability and people with impairments as individuals and differently. It's not a one size fits all. So you don't give all 3 people a box that they can look over a wall. Some people don't need it. Some people need more. You have to have tailored support to ensure that equity can take place. It's not the same for all. You know, some people need more, some people need less, but it's about finding the right support. All right, so disability, there are 4 main categories of disability. This picture illustrates what they are. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but just to go through them quickly, the top left is for people who use wheelchairs. Top right would be someone with a psychosocial disability. Bottom left would be a sign language user, and bottom right would be a person who uses a white stick or a cane. So disability is diverse. Lisa touched on it. You know, not all disabilities are visible, and it's important to be cognizant of that fact. We can move on. Just some very quick facts about disability. The first one is that around about 15% of South Africans have a disability. Lisa alluded to it. It's a huge market. And we're a very large group. And I often joke and say, well, maybe we should start a political party. If we all vote for ourselves and perhaps get one loved one to vote with us, we'd be a very strong opposition party. But the point is that it's a very, very big group, and we have a voice which is not always heard. Perceptions and attitudes towards us are a massive problem. We do talk about the attitudinal barrier being one of the biggest barriers faced by people with disabilities, and it's really unfortunate. I think a lot of it is just a lack of education, lack of knowledge. Just some examples, I remember sitting outside a Pick n Pay in Knysna on holiday with my parents for a while, for half an hour while my mum was doing some shopping. Just before she got in, she bought me a cold drink, and I hadn't finished it, so she put this tin on the armrest of my wheelchair. When she came back out, I had collected R2.20 in change, because people saw a wheelchair user sitting outside a Pick n Pay, and there was a tin in the vicinity, so they dropped money into the tin. Of course, I was not big in, but people have that perception. Disabled guy, Pick n Pay, tin, must want money. And I can laugh about it now, but I can assure you at the time it was incredibly embarrassing and frustrating. Also, another example was we were doing some work with a casino group, and I'm not a gambler. I don't really know how casinos work, so I had to go and do some investigation. I spent some time sitting, watching people playing at the tables, and after about 15 minutes, one of the managers came over to me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, sir, please will you leave?" So I looked at him. I was, picked on the wrong person. I said, "Why?" And he said to me, "No, we've had a complaint. The people at the table have asked that you leave because you're bringing them bad luck." So there was me, because I'm a wheelchair user, I'm bad luck, and I was causing people to lose money. Again, it's easy to talk about it and laugh about it now, but the reality was that is how people perceive me to be, and I think it'd be further from the truth. When you have a disability, your everyday tasks become a challenge. So it can be difficult to tie your own shoelaces, to do your ablutions, to get up and go every morning, to take your kids to school, to prepare food. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges. It's not difficult sitting on a wheelchair all day, but it is difficult, challenging taking care of the day-to-day activities that one needs. We find that there's often a lack of education and interaction amongst people with disabilities. And that can be, again, depends on when people acquire the disability. But special needs schools aren't always great, don't always provide the best level of education. And often people with disabilities don't interact with others because they're stuck at home. Families, communities are embarrassed about the person with a disability. They get locked up at home and don't know how to interact with others. And then, of course, if you have a disability, it will affect at least one of the three areas. It will either affect your ability to learn, to interact with others, or to move around independently. It may affect more than one of those three areas, but it will affect at least one of those three areas. And they're all very important. You know, if you can't learn, how do you proceed in life? Interaction is so important, and of course being able to be mobile. So that's some quick facts about disability. We're going to move on to some myth busting on the next slide, and you can read along the first one, which is my favorite one. Excuse me, my voice is going a little bit. People think that if you have a disability, you're different from normal people. I put normal in inverted commas because, come on, what is normal, you know? And also, who wants to be normal? I never wanted to be normal. I always wanted to be extraordinary. I wanted to stand out in the crowd. But if you take, normal as being someone who is able-bodied, I can assure you, all the wheelchair users, all the people with disabilities, in fact, not just wheelchair users that I know, are regular people. You know, we fall in love, we fall out of love. You get people with disabilities are really awesome, and you get some who aren't so great. I always say that, when I'm 47 years old and I'm not married, so when an attractive lady walks past, I still notice, and sometimes I'll try my luck with a chat up line or two. Sometimes I won't. Just like any other person without a disability. And it's important to realize that we're just the same, absolutely the same. We just have a different way of doing things sometimes. There's also a perception and myth out there that people with disabilities must care for those, people without disabilities must care for those with disabilities. And that's really not true. Yes, I need assistance. I have full-time assistance, but I make my own decisions. I am fiercely independent, want to do as much for myself as I can, and I like to control as much in my environment as I can. The next slide, we'll carry on with some more myths and misinformation. Just to touch on other disabilities as well, I think Lisa also alluded to it, all persons with hearing impairments can read lips, or all persons with hearing impairments use sign language. Not at all. Lip reading is a very, very difficult thing to do. And it's important that you get confirmation of how the person communicates before you start. It's no point trying to use sign language or trying to have a person read your lips if they are not skilled in that. Then sometimes people think that if you're a person who's blind, you have a sixth sense. And it's quite a funny one. I have a friend called Vincent who is blind, and when we drive places, he sits in the passenger seat, I'm in the back of the vehicle, and my driver literally takes directions from Vincent, who is blind. And I said to Vincent the one day, because the driver gave me a very funny look. Vincent said to the driver, turn left here. And the driver looked at me as if to say, do I? And of course, Vincent was 100% correct. And I asked Vincent, I said, what's this about? How do you know? And he said, well, he has been on that road so many times that he knows every single bump in the road. And he knows the corner where you have to turn left, there's a lady selling flowers. So he heard her advertising her flowers, and he knew that that was the place to turn. So people who are blind, don't have a sixth sense. They just make use of the other senses. They're more aware of things around them than some of us are. We can move on. Then people with psychiatric disabilities are mad, insane, or mentally ill. There's a lot of stigma when it comes to psychosocial disability. And I think it's important to highlight that a psychiatric disability, it might, and it often does, cause people to behave in an irrational or emotional manner, but it doesn't mean the person is insane. And more often than not, the behavior can be managed through medication. Huge stigma, and it's really not fair. Also, people with learning disabilities, people with learning disabilities are often perceived to be, have psychiatric disabilities. There's a huge difference between a learning disability and a psychiatric disability. So the disability, a learning disability, will make it difficult for a person to learn in a traditional classroom, and again, just often need to be accommodated. So that's some misinformation that's out there. We can move on, please, to the last one on this, and that's pretty much just that people with disabilities are special and should be treated differently. Now, my mother always thought I was very special, but that was before I had my injury. And of course, the label of special in reference to a person with a disability does not convey equality. It's, you know, it's really not what we want. We want to be given an equal opportunity. We strive for equity. So I'm not special just because of the fact that I use a wheelchair. So that's some myths and let me tie my tongue, myths and misinformation. We're going to move on to wheelchair users. Just some specific do's and don'ts. Listen to my language. I talk about a wheelchair user or a person with a mobility impairment, quadriplegic, paraplegic. We don't talk about guy being wheelchair bound. That person in the picture, he's wheelchair bound. We don't talk about being in a wheelchair. We definitely don't talk about crippled, handicapped, or even being confined to a wheelchair anymore. We like to use wheelchair users. So some do's and don'ts, very important, small things, but they make the world of difference, is speak to the person. So when you come up to me, even though I may very well be accompanied by a carer or a caregiver, a friend, please look at me in my eyes. Make eye contact and speak to me. Don't speak to the person next to me. It's a real bugbear when people come up to the person that's with me and they'll say, what's his name? You can ask me. Or my favorite is at a restaurant, or, what's he going to eat? Is he hungry? Come on, guys, ask me, speak to me. So speak directly to me and then speak normally. Very often people will come up to me and it happens at least once a week. They'll say, good morning. How? Oh, come on, guys. You can do better. Speak normally. Please don't change the way you speak. Speak to me in a normal voice. But when we engage in, don't stare. And Lisa touched on it. It's very frustrating when parents will behave inappropriate with their kids. I get that they don't want their kids to stare. However, they end up dragging that child away from you by the arm, smacking the baby on the bum or the child on the bum, saying, oh, I told you how many times, don't stare, don't ask questions. It's the last thing you do, because all that you do is you create a negative perspective about wheelchair users in that kid's mind. So just encourage the child not to stare, but you ask questions, maybe lead some of the questions. Also, though, be aware that the wheelchair user may not feel like answering questions, may not always want to be on display. So don't stare. Offer a physical gesture. It's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. We normally shake hands when we meet. I know with COVID we stopped doing that, but we now back to shaking hands. I can't shake hands. It's one of the biggest obstacles that I've had when meeting people. It took me about 20 years to figure out what to do, because people would come up to me, meet me for the first time. They'd stand with their hand extended, wanting me to shake it. I would feel uncomfortable because all of a sudden I'd see this hand in front of me and I think, oh my word, I can't grab it now. What do I do? What do I say? This guy's going to feel uncomfortable. The person was standing with his hand extended, and after me not taking it for a few seconds, all of a sudden he realizes, oh, this guy can't use his arms. I've offended him. And he starts feeling uncomfortable. So we haven't even started engaging and we're both feeling uncomfortable. So all you have to do is, with a quadriplegic or paraplegic, someone like me, I can't use my arms at all. You put your hand on top of my shoulder or on my hand. If it's a quadriplegic with limited arm and hand movement, you give him a fist pump, take the hand that he does offer you. Paraplegic who has full hand use, and shake a hand in a traditional way. But it's very important to make that contact. Move to eye level as well. So wheelchair users are generally a lot lower than someone who's standing, and it can be very difficult if someone comes and stands right next to you. First of all, if they stand next to you and you have to turn your neck the whole time to make eye contact, don't do that. Move to in front of the person where they can see you comfortably, and also move to eye level. So take a step back so that if you're standing close, it's difficult. The person has to tilt their head up to look at you. If you move backwards, it becomes a lot more comfortable for everyone. Everyone concerned. Pull up a chair, that's also perfectly acceptable. We also don't change the way we speak. We use everyday terms. So I don't go for a roll to the shop. I go for a walk to the shop. It really is perfectly acceptable to use that sort of language. You're not going to offend me. But please, guys, respect my personal space. So my wheelchair is an extension of me. It's not cool to lean on my wheelchair, to pull up a chair and put your feet up on my footrest, on my wheel. You don't do that. It's not Ayoba. It's not cool. However, if you're my girlfriend, then it's a different story because it's a different relationship. Just like if a stranger had to come up to you and put his or her arm around you, you'd probably be a bit taken aback. It's the same with me. If a stranger comes up to me and leans on my wheelchair, I'm not going to be chuffed. But your girlfriend or your partner comes up to you, puts their arm around you, you're going to be fine with that. It's the same with me when it comes to space around my wheelchair. People are often very reluctant to assist when it comes to wheelchair users or people with mobility impairments. Then you get people who go the other extent where they just go and take over. They see someone who's perhaps pushing themselves in the chair, think, oh, I'm going to go and help them, and they just race off with the person. Always offer to help. The person, if they require help, they will gratefully accept it. If they don't, they'll hopefully politely say no, thank you. But be aware that some people with mobility impairments and wheelchair users will prefer not to accept help because we are often very fiercely independent. So those are some do's and don'ts about wheelchair users. The language of disability is also very important. We need to avoid cliches and remember each individual may have different preferences. I like to be called a wheelchair user. Others may prefer a quadriplegic, a person with mobility impairment. If you are with someone often enough, I'm sure you'll pick up and they'll probably tell you what they prefer and then use it. Don't show an admiration purely because of an individual's disability. I have people that have never met me and they come out to me and say, oh, Anthony, you're amazing. Oh, you're such an inspiration. Well, makes me want to vomit, in all honesty. It means absolutely nothing because you don't know me. If you get to know me and we spend time together and we work together, and then you tell me that, Anthony, wow, I admire you, then it means something. So please don't show admiration just because the person happens to have a disability. Treat a person in a non-judgmental way. So get to know them. Don't make assumptions of the person based on the impairment that they may have. I think it's really important. Restrain your curiosity. Always be patient. Being patient is important. We need a bit of time often. And restrain your curiosity. It's not cool to go up to a person. This also will happen once a week. People will come up to me and they'll say, hi, what happened to you? And I'm like thinking, well, what do I do now? Do I answer? I'm often tempted to say back to them, say, well, what happened to you? It's not cool to ask people what happened to them. Not cool to ask them about their journey. I'm sure once you get to know them, it will come up, but our disability does not define us and should not be the hot topic of discussion all the time. Look beyond the disability. See the person as an individual. Lisa said it. We're all different. We all have different strengths, weaknesses, and characters. So look beyond the disability and see them as them. I can assure you, my friends see me as Anthony, who, he uses a wheelchair. They see me as the package and not as their wheelchair using friend. All right. Terminology does matter. It's important to get language right. So we don't talk about handicapped, crippled, physical, challenged, differently abled, invalids. It's actually pretty simple. We talk about people with disabilities or a person with a disability. Call it the people first language. So you talk about a person who is blind, a person who has difficulty learning, whatever it might be. If you're not sure what to say, use the word person or people first. And you're pretty sure of not causing offense to anyone. Then just some fun ones close to home. We don't talk about a paraplegic or a special bathroom. I always think, I don't want to use a disabled bathroom. Imagine what a disabled bathroom is like. It's like probably, overflowing and dirty and the seats broken. I'd rather use an accessible bathroom, and the same with disabled parking. We don't talk about disabled parking, we talk about accessible parking bays that we like to use. All right, so just 4 points that if you leave with nothing else from my presentation today, if you just leave with these when it comes to interacting with a person with disability, you'll be doing really well. The first one is address the person directly. So speak to me, don't speak to my assistant, don't speak to the people supporting me. I'll be able to assist you and answer you. If I can't, then the chances are that the person that's with me will jump in and explain that I can't communicate. Good communication is so important, and listen to the person's unique needs. Again, Lisa touched on it. Everyone's different. Same disability may have very different needs. Be patient and understanding. The reality is that sometimes when a person with mobility is doing something, it may take a little bit longer. It takes me a little bit longer to get through a door because I have to be sure not to ram into it than other people. So just a little bit of patience and understanding. And I think most importantly, focus on the person, not on their disability. Everyone has ability. Focus on what their ability is, on what their uniqueness is, and you'll go a long way to having a good experience and create an environment that is conducive for people with impairments. I think that's it. Thanks very much, everyone.
Moving on to our next presentation, I will be discussing the workplace experience program that we've considered our flagship program. With skills development and employment are key issues for persons with disabilities. So QASA's work readiness and employment program provides skills development and employment placement opportunities for unemployed youth with disabilities. Now, some of our young work seekers are not well educated and do not possess the sufficient skills and previous work experience demanded by employers in the labor market. Now, our young people with disabilities are at the bottom of the candidate list for employment. So our program was initiated in response to the inadequate skills levels and poor work readiness of many young people leaving formal secondary and tertiary education and entering the labor market for the first time. The fact that despite numerous interventions and initiatives, persons with disabilities are largely underrepresented in the workplace. The reasons for this are many and varied, but one of the most obvious reasons is that many persons with disabilities are not afforded the opportunity to gain the necessary work-ready tools and the skills for gainful employment. And that's where QASA comes in, which is why our work readiness program was introduced along with the Driving Ambitions project to educate and mobilize our members. QASA's facilities and accredited 2-month online training program include a workplace experience. That is a component which is a transition to an online platform, which was to mitigate the lack of adequate wheelchair accessible and public transport. Because with public transport, wheelchair users find it a bit difficult to use public transport, as well as increase the program's footprint nationally. So we could target rural areas, and some of the candidates don't have access going into a face-to-face class. QASA aims to bridge the gap between unemployment and employment by addressing the shortcomings of our members that resulted from a lack of opportunities. Our advantages of taking on candidates from our organization: we offer a database of skilled candidates to choose from without any recruitment fee. They already have the strong ability to work from home, to work hybrid, to fit in the new norm of most companies. Our candidates being wheelchair users can also sit for long periods of time, and they have 100% dedication as they have much more to prove. QASA offers personalized sensitization training for companies that uptakes our candidates, similar to what Mr. Anthony Galino did, which we come to your organization, do a face-to-face sensitization training with your colleagues. We also advise on the reasonable accommodation, which is assistive devices to suit our candidates' disabilities, and we complete a full access order to ensure that the building is accessible. I have prepared a short presentation, if I can just share my screen quickly. Just to give you an idea what our work readiness program is and what our candidates go through. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can, Daneshri.
Thank you so much. So with the requirements, the minimum requirements of our candidate has to be a quadriplegic or paraplegic member of QASA. So we target the youth, which is between 18 to 35, possession of a matric certificate or an NQF level 4 qualification with the ability to speak and understand English. We look for committed candidates to attend online classes and for them to secure full-time employment at the end of our program. In addition to completing all elements of the application form, they also have to submit a letter to motivate why they want to participate. With the modules that make up the work readiness program, they are all aligned with SACWA unit standards. Our work readiness program does not have certification for each module, but they will receive a certificate of completion. QASA supports the concept of work readiness rather than learnerships and believes that the intense course of the work readiness program will be more effective for employment seeking and employment uptake. QASA decided to align the training material to SACWA unit standards as it will be rolling out a 2-month online skills program where the focus will be impact of mainstream employment. These are the list of modules that our candidates go through to ensure that they transition into the workplace, which is your disability rights, your Microsoft Office package, how they deal with stress in a difficult situation, how to work in a team to motivate their colleagues, and also learn about the diversity in the workplace, learning to deal with different personalities or cultures, as well as operate as a project team member. And also have leadership skills to show your employer that our candidates do have an ability to become a manager. So at the end, what do we require from potential employers such as yourselves? We would like potential employers to provide work experience for our candidates when they complete their program, and obviously uptake our candidates into full-time employment thereafter. I just want to stop sharing. So at the end of our program, we want prospective employees such as yourselves just to see how our candidates integrate into a workplace, learning all that they put theoretically into practical. I know 5 days is quite short, and that's where we offer our employees to take on our candidates more longer to see their potential. We do have our intern that's based at Alexander Forbes that's present at the moment that would like to tell you a bit of his journey, how he started from the work readiness program and then transitioned into an internship, a full-time internship at Alexander Forbes. And that will be Sandile Mtempo.
Greeting again, everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here. To just start from the beginning, I'm still in Temper. I was born at Friday. I was born with spinal disorder. I'm a 20-year-old. To start my story, after my mother passed away, my family abandoned me because they felt that I was going to be a burden to them. And my father got married to another wife, and she said she couldn't able to take me in because she doesn't know how to raise a disabled child. So that's when my journey of my life started, growing up on my own, and then until I was staying with my granny, who is my father's mother. And until I reached the age of 18, where I finished high school, which was at open air school. After then, I started to stay in Pinetown to rental establishments. I stayed in Pinetown, did few learnerships until I met the nursery. When I met the nursery, I met her through a friend of mine who was also in the readiness program. So she introduced me to the nursery, and then that's where it all began with QASA. So I just going to briefly say, I like to thank QASA because QASA is taking a place of a parent in my life in so many ways. It has like taken me in and put me under the wing of life where I thought it was the end, but it turned out it was the beginning of it. So with the nursery, I had herself and the patients, and I would always worry her, D, how's it going? D, how's it going? What is happening? Because I could see that things were getting more harder for me. I was renting in a small room at Hillcrest, whereby a toilet was outside and it was too far for me to like those RTP toilets. You could like people would like feel sorry for me in a way, and that was usually put me into a lot of depression. So all that to me has been a story that has grown me to become a person I am today. As for me, I believe that what my past has become a foundation of growth. When I look back and to think that when I look at today, I'm like, was this really me? Because when I said Kwasa fought with me. They helped me to grow until they introduced me to Alexander Forbes. Alexander Forbes, when I came here, I came here as a administrator for doing scanning for HMS, which is Health Management Solutions, under management of Portia and Ashley, and Ntabi Singh for administration, our administration senior, under supervision of Sandile Memeza. So working here is like been such a wonderful journey as well. Everyone is warm welcoming. The managers, they like, you wouldn't see even that they are managed, because they're always there. They're always supportive. They're always giving the best ability to make sure that I am working hard and I am receiving the cases that I'm supposed to be receiving. So I really wish to say thank you so much to Kwasa, because it all started from there. This is where it all started. To say thank you to all our investors, all the management from Kwasa, to having faith in us. And it's really a very, very, very inspiring to see like people are older than me, to see that how far you have went, to show that if for myself, if I can carry on with this attitude, because in life, the only disability is our attitude. It doesn't matter who we are or where we're coming from or what obstacles we go through. Or what matters is how do we think? Do we want to allow those fears to be projected in our lives, or do we want to grow up and to fight? The only fight we can able to do is to pass those obstacles and make sacrifices in life. I also made my own sacrifices. I just bought a 7-seater car. For me to able to invest in myself, that even if whatever happens in my life, I would say there's one thing of myself that I made through Kwasa, through Alexander Forbes. I must not allow this opportunity that I'm having now to just use this money for whatever, but then I must use it wisely and think carefully. It's an internship, yes. But for me, it's not an internship, it's a gift, it's a privilege, which that will grow in me in somehow, and it will lead me to that direction of life, which it has. Buying this car was for me to put for Uber and to use as a lift club to call people. That money as well would also help me to grow more. So in life, it is really important to not consider disability as disability. We are the same. We are the same, because the only thing when I'm saying are the same, they are able people who are just sitting there at home doing nothing, not because they have opportunities, but it's because they want to. They don't want to use their minds. So what I'm trying to put here in the table today is that Kwasa has grown me into the way that I was never thought I would. It has groomed me to become a better man, because I'm a man today because of them. I'm sitting here in the round spinning chairs because of them. They fought with me. If only it wasn't for them, I would be at home or maybe somewhere depressed, lonely, and no one. But today I'm an independent person, because Denetri fought hard. He had faith in me, and I thank you so much, Denetri. I truly appreciate you. As much as it's all because that's from the management of Kwasa. If it wasn't for your hard work as well, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't be speaking these stories today, because the stories are a foundation of life. So for us to grow. So I plead you, please, if ever there's someone else who comes, keep on the spirit that they must also grow, because the Kwasa is really showing a brighter flag for us. It's like people have less faith in us with disabilities. They just say, oh, shame, let them, give them to rent, it's fine. And they think we only suffer with grant, but you also got our minds. We can also think, we also got visions, also got goals, but it's also in our heart and in our mind to able to conquer those vision. You don't need hands, you don't need eyes, you don't need ears, you don't need legs to able to go to accomplish your dreams or your goals. You just need your heart to set on it. You just need your mind to set on it. Take this opportunity to say thank you. I truly, truly appreciate each and everyone here. because without I wouldn't be the person that I am aiming to, because I am aiming to grow more than I want to reach the level that all of you are here because I'm inspired. I met new people today and I'm so inspired. From our last meeting, I met other guys as well, and I was inspired more to see that I'm not alone in this journey, but the only thing that I should do is to keep on growing. Because as I grow, I learn more. As I grow, I meet other people. So thank you so much. And I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Santilia. That was very inspirational. I would like to thank each and everyone that attended this employment webinar, and I hope that you'll do have something that you're taking away that's valuable. If you'll have any questions, you can ask now, or you can contact me directly via email, and I can send you the contact details for the speakers today. I do hope that you will approach Kwasa if you have any employment opportunities for our members to mobilize their lives and give them a better opportunity to grow. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day further.